Laundry. You always gotta like that beat. Eh? You ever see that? What's that heavy metal guy? He does like like something like like woke ghost metal or whatever. The guy's really hilarious. He takes like people screeching and screaming and or saying something over and whatever, and he basically puts a metal riffs to it. It's like really cool. Yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah, so World War III update. I've got a lot for you today. Things are starting to slow down. I think Trump is like in realization of the disaster that he's in. And okay, it's bad enough that he's fucking up the United States, and it's all done on purpose. Like, again, I can't. This, they're not incompetent people because you couldn't be incompetent and fuck it up this well. You know what I mean? Like if they were incompetent, they'd screw up and get it in our favor once in a while. It never is. No, this is the plan. They put people that are incompetent that just yes men or whatever, and then when everything goes awry, they have somebody to blame. But no, the plan is to destroy everything. Like the world leaders, like everything they talk about comes true, right? So it's like, no, that's just conspiracy. But then how is it always in their favor, right? Like Trump is manipulating the markets like you wouldn't believe. He signals to the markets like every Monday. Okay, this is what's going to be happening this week. So place your bets, right? It's extremely corrupt. I mean that they all did it. So like again, but no, I think he's starting to realize that no, Iran isn't going to fold. He's guys listening to him yesterday going on about we're having good talks with Iran and stuff like that. Some top secret guy in Iran. I can't tell you who it is because I don't want the guy to get killed. The guy's lying to you. Like he's not talking. Like, the Iranian's like you're not talking to me. And if he is talking to somebody, it's kind of like you remember with the UN guy with Greenland. And it's like okay, yeah, he was talking about a deal with Greenland. It's like this guy's not even an elected official. And it's like, yeah, I talked to a guy there and he said he would like that. So, yeah, it looks like we're going to make a great deal. And the rest of the Danish government sitting there going, it was news to me. You know what I mean? We know Carney and Trump were talking about, getting help with the Strait of Hormuz. So God knows what Carney could do there. But I think Carney's going to be like, I ain't touching this one, buddy. Threaten me all you want, Moon over Parador style. Again, guys, you got to see that movie Moon over Parador. I can't recommend it. It's just when you watch it, there's like three. You got to watch Catch 22, which also has Richard Dreyfuss in it. Moon over Parador, and The Gods Must Be Crazy. Yeah, they're old movies, but just watch them and just watch them. That's all I'm asking. Just watch them. And then Moon over Parador, it's like just watch Trump how he acts, and then think Raul Julian, the empty threats and stuff like that. And again, it was a great movie, like from what I remember. It's probably not as good a movie as I remember it, but I think I watched it like 3 or 4 times. So it's like, yeah, Catch 22 is a weird movie, but yeah, and The Gods Must Be Crazy. I seen it 2 or 3 times. But yeah, it's just there's just parallels, you know what I mean? And then I guess Idiocracy is like the is the main feature. Yeah, 1984, Minority Report, Idiocracy. There you go. That's the world we live in. But yeah, Trump and Carney, God knows what. Like Carney's probably like, I can't bail you out of this one, buddy. Like threatening all the allies. Okay, everybody got to come and help us open the Strait of Hormuz because you're benefiting from it. Yeah, but it's you that fucked it up. You know what I mean? And then call everybody cowards. Well, we don't need them anyway. We can open it very easily. Well, then why were you asking for everybody's help? You know what I mean? Like it's just like who's he pandering to for? It's like his base is completely alienated. The worst is that every conservative movement around the world is going to suffer because of Trump. Everybody's gas prices for the next 2 to possibly 3 years, according to the mainstream media, so might as well plan for the next decade, is going to be outrageous. You know, all these people, oh, $150 barrel oil. No, it's gonna be like $1,500 barrel, $2,000 barrel oil. Like, guys, it's gonna become, it's the Mad Max scenario. You know, okay, the Mad Max movie was off by 4 years. Like 2021, 2022. There's going to be a massive war and oil crisis in the Middle East, and it was going to fuck up the world. Who knew, right? Again, Mel Gibson, that guy's probably overheard a lot of stuff. I mean, what he says out loud versus imagine what he's not telling us. Holy shit, you know. Like, how does he wink, wink, nudge, nudge without getting himself killed? You know what I mean? But again, there we go. So, I did see footage. Now, I know we have Canadian warships in the Mediterranean, the Halifax class frigates. And I think one was helping to escort the drilled Ford, which is going to basically Crete, or where was it? Anyway, it's going to be in that region in the Mediterranean for repairs. And look, guys, this whole laundry room thing, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know where the laundry room is in the aircraft carrier, but my hunch is it's against a gun wall where probably a drone hit. And that's probably what caused the fire. 3 days to put out a fucking laundry room fire. 3 days? Like, that means you got burst pipes, you've got gas leaking, you got major problems. 200, and again, they're starting to let it out. Well, okay, yeah, it was 2 people killed, and 200 injured and 600 displaced in the ship. Right? So that means that whole ship is probably like like just the smoke and you probably contaminated the entire ship. Like, that ship has major problems right now. They can't tell you that, but it's out of commission. It's out of commission. Now, here's what I'm wondering. They fired a rocket out to Diego Garcia. I don't think they hit it, but they ranged it anyway. And a lot of people take the Iranian misses as failures. They're not. They're ranging it to get data. It's okay, fire the first one, range it, get the corrections. We'll fire the next 2, will probably be dead on. It's artillery, right? That's what you do with old-fashioned style artillery. You fire a shot, you range it, and then you correct, right? And then you correct in on it, you hone in on it, right? Maybe it takes 3 shots at that distance. I don't know. Maybe it was just to let the Brits and the Americans know you're not safe there either. When we decide to escalate out that far, we can. Again, they're going to take out Big Ben in the UK. They're going to knock that tower out. It's going to be a crazy sight to see, but we're going to see it. I've been telling you this for years, that the Iranians have the ability to hit that thing. I think it's very, very... like, people are still doing, oh yeah, well, because they didn't hit the island directly, that they don't have to keep it. They're hitting everything super accurately. They've probably got, the rockets that don't get stopped probably got about an 80% chance of hitting, within the range that they want to hit, buildings, whatever. Even if it was 50-50, it would still be devastating enough, right? And again, they can fight this war for probably years. There does seem to be a bit of a de-escalation because, again, you're hearing of more aircraft getting shot down. Can't confirm, but apparently another F-35, an F-15, and an F-16 were shot down. Can't confirm it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. So the A-10s that are going to fly, willy-nilly. Like, again, all this, we're flying. Even if you listen to SATCOM, yes, okay. The footage you're seeing over Iran is from drones, not from F-35s. The F-35s are not flying. They can fly some areas of the country, but they can't fly, with impunity. They don't have air superiority, even if they say they do. Like, like anywhere there's air defense, they can't go. Within the range of, like, anywhere within the range of the air defense systems, they really can't go. The only question is how much air defense systems do the Iranians have, and they're pulling it out as they need it. Like again, half the targets being hit, like 8,000 sorties so far by the Americans, and I don't know what the last count. I think it was last count was 16,000 targets hit. Out of those targets, maybe about 2% of them are valuable. Like you're hitting delivery trucks because there's maybe a one in maybe a 1 in 100 chance that it might be an actual disguised rocket truck, right? Okay, so you're just willy nilly just vaporizing truck drivers. You know what I mean? They killed like another 1,300 people in Iran last night in an airstrike. Civilians. It's all these civilians dying. The collateral damage, and then they hate us because of freedoms, like George Bush said. Right? No, there's going to be payback, and it's going to be really, really brutal. So I don't know if Carney's going to look. Carney and Starmer are trying to keep Trump at bay. Starmer is flip flopping. Yes, we're going to support you. We'll send a warship, but we're going to send it out onto the Mediterranean side, way far enough from the conflict, not enough to provoke an Iranian attack. Look, the British have got really state of the art stuff. They do. It's every bit as good as the American stuff. Problem is, it's all dilapidated because diversity is our strength, and you got to spend for refugees and Muslims and stuff like that, and all this stuff in the UK. All that money's going there. It's not going into their military. They got these state of the art submarines, and they're all sitting there waiting for parts. This is a common theme around the Western world. Here in Canada, we're starting to reverse the trend. It'll take a while, but yes, we are on the right path of the stuff we're going for. There's fiascos, like, for example, the C-19 rifle, the Ranger rifle. It's a Tika T3 that they paid way too much for. The stock problems with the red dye, because they got laminated stocks and the red dye is basically leaking out of them, when they get wet. And so there's like stupid stuff like that, but it's still, and we overpaid for, like, we paid like $7,000. Originally, we paid $5,000 for a $3,000 rifle, and now with the repairs on these rifles is going to be, like $7,000 a rifle. Okay, yeah, war's a racket. I get that, because these rifles could be mass produced. Even in Finland or Norway, I think it's Finland that makes the Tika. They can not only do the deal better, but they could give you a 3-year warranty on each rifle. So where we got a 1-year warranty, and we did them with Colt Canada, right? Which again, Colt Canada can make good stuff, but it's just that when you get these fucking government involved with that, it's stuff like that people want God. It's like, no. Those rifles shouldn't cost more than $1,500, even for military grade. Right? And they shouldn't. So where's the extra cost? Like, who's pocketing that? Because that could be going into our military forces. The Americans have the same problem where they passed a bill years and years and years ago that they could charge 4 times the price, or up to 35 times the price of an item. That's why your F-35 is so expensive. Plus, it basically, the F-35 is a make-work project to launder money. That's what it is for the black projects. That's what it is. But other than that, no, we're doing good on the Arctic defense. We're doing good with these the Nordic 7 partnerships. We're doing all this stuff. We're going to be getting multi-layer air defense, multi-layer areas. It's going to be 10 years before you see it, functioning properly. But better late than never, right? So Carney is not as good with the military so far as, say, Harper was, but he's more innovative than what Harper was at this point. And again, I know people hate Carney, and like if you listen to the naysayers, there's nothing he can do right, whatever. Guys, I'm going by the numbers. I don't like the man myself, but it's not about my bias. It's about what is he doing right, what is he doing wrong. Okay? Gun buyback, wrong. Like other things wrong. However, seeing immigration go down 2 quarters in a row, in other words, a whole bunch of students, fake students just got kicked out of the country, basically. This is okay, not enough, but it's a step. I'd rather step in that direction than the other way. Why? Because if you're just doing it by the numbers, every time you get rid of these people, you get rid of welfare recipients. You know what I mean? That saves us money. Gives us a little bit of a chance. As fucktard down south is basically raising the cost of living up here in Canada and everywhere else in the world. Again, we don't know how bad this is going to be 100%, but we know it's going to get bad. It's already bad. Southeast Asian countries are already, hurting bad. And what they're saying is that if Trump made that 48-hour thing, the Iranians are like, no, fuck you. You do that, we're going to, nobody gets through. It will collapse the world economy. Right now, there's select freighters that are allowed to travel the Strait of Hormuz. The debate whether they put in the sea mines or didn't, some people say yes, so some people say no, but the footage of those boats getting blown up in the strait look like they're dropping off sea mines. So we don't know, right? Maybe they did a limited mining. I don't know, right? So we know nobody can get to the strait. Karg Island, if you send the Tripoli and the Iwo Jima and I forget the third landing craft. You'll never get there. You'll be dead. You'll never get past the strait. You know what I mean? The choke point, Karg Island is way in there. It's way in the Gulf. You got to travel 100 and some odd miles just to get there. Even if you're out on the far side of the coast, it's not very wide there. The anti-shipping missiles will be on you in minutes. You know what I mean? So this idea that you're going to land troops on Karg Island, I think is a bit of a pipe dream, unless you want to get those guys killed. History legend said that one of the places they might do it is in a Sunni region of the country, right near the naval base that they took. They destroyed all the warships, right? Okay, that makes sense. Because I guess what they're thinking is they'll hide amongst the population. There's 280,000 people there. We'll arm them up and they can become a militia group and whatever. But look, a lot of these militia groups, they're not the ISIS guys aren't even taking in on it. They're nah, the Iranians are just a step. We'll go after Assad's guys, but Iran, that's a whole new bag. The Iranians are way. See, Assad's guys didn't get a chance to prepare, right? And Assad, where he went wrong is he got rid of his chemical weapons. Right? He got rid of them thinking that was going to be the plea deal and that would appease. He trusted that the Americans were going to do things in good faith. And it's no. Right now, you have the Israelis out there saying how they're going to, all these Arab countries that are helping them, they're yeah, we're going to take out these countries too, starting with Turkey because now Turkey's the next country that has to fall because of Israel said so. So you're talking about basically putting Turkey up against the United States. That would be disastrous for the United States. The only country that I think in the region that could go toe-to-toe with Iran would be Turkey, and even at that, my money's still on Iran. I think Iran just has a better, more modern, Turkey still has a World War II style military like the United States. And a lot of people are it's not a World War II, we got jets, but the model of it, you gotta look at the model of it. Fighter jets, aircraft carriers, tanks, stuff that's World War II. Modern warfare is rockets, drones, heavy surveillance, fifth dimensional warfare. It's a whole new bag, different battlefields. You got all these, especially the drones, and until the anti-drone and anti-cruise missile stuff, look, the Ukrainians found cheaper ways to knock down the drones, right? It's not foolproof, but they're going into year 5 right now. The Ukrainians, a lot of people slag them, whatever, but I'm no, I not only admire the Ukrainians' will to fight, but how they've hung on so well and how adaptable they've actually been. I mean, their manuals are not written by some CEO or think tank guy, armchair general. No, they're written in blood. You know, what works, what doesn't work. And, you know, no tactics last forever. Like, even the Sun Tzu's Art of War, there's a lot of things that are still relevant to today, but, you know, there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't apply to today either. You know what I mean? Like, you're always having to upgrade, you know, because when you go to war, what the Americans are learning for the first time is that no, the other guy does have a say. You know, like, you're now attacking a country that can fight back, right? The Maduro raid was Hollywood. That was insiders helping out Trump, right? Who he double crossed anyway, so it doesn't matter. He was supposed to pay everybody, but he didn't pay everybody. Iran is not negotiating. They have no. Why would they negotiate? The only thing they're saying is you're getting out of the region. We're not asking you. You can stay and die, or you can go home. You know, and we're not doing anything for you or with you. We're negotiating until you pay all the damages that you've done. You killed people. You destroyed our economy. You busted this. You busted that. We weren't attacking you. You fucked it up. You know, again, like, everybody around the world hates Israel with a passion, and people are angry at Jews like crazy, and we're going to get into that too. But the U.S. tried to use a new type of anti-ship missile jamming system, where it's like, okay, they can jam a lot of these Iranian missiles, probably the Houthi missiles and the Iranian missiles, so they don't even have to shoot them down. They just have to kind of like confuse them. It's the same. Again, it's I've heard people mocking the Iranians anti-shipping missiles, saying that, you know, they're still using like gyros and stuff like that to guide it in. Those are lower tech, kind of works no matter what, but they can be easier fooled, yes. But that said, the system that they're using to put a false signal to get the missile to chase after like a false signal, that's not new. That's like Vietnam era. A6 intruder stuff, like that you know, A6 prowler stuff. That electronic warfare thing has been around forever. But the newer Chinese and Russian stuff don't fall for that as easily. And it really does depend on the crew firing the missile. Even a lower tech missile, radio guided in, and then hones in. Like, there's multiple ways to get a missile to a target, right? Same with the air defense. Like, you could do it automated, or you can guide it in, and once you guide it in, once it's within unmissable range, then you turn on the Seacore head just to lock it in, right? So yeah, I would, if we've seen how the Patriot missile systems and Iron Dome and all that stuff, how that's working, I wouldn't, you know, would you trust 5,000 members on an aircraft carrier to that? I don't know. Yeah, so again, I already mentioned that possibly another couple of fighters down. Yeah, gas prices take about 2 to 3 years to go down from this. Yeah, so they're gonna go up. Like, you're looking at $20 gasoline minimum in the States. Yeah, so up here in Canada, we're going to be building a drone installation hub. We're going to be working with Saab. Like, I have a hunch, like, Carney's just waiting for the right time to announce that we're going to go with the Saab Griffin. I think we're going to go with a 2 Tier 4s because we're already paid for stuff. So we might have, like, say 30 F-35s, which I'm like, don't waste the money. Don't waste the money. We're going to get 6 of these Globe 6500 electronic warfare aircraft that we're already building the platform, and then Saab is, you know, puts in the other part. We're already building them in Canada. It's like, this is what I never understood. Why would we buy like a P8 Poseidon from the Americans when we're already building the global eye for Sweden, right? Like, and I'll tell you why. Because we used to favor the Americans for our purchases. We're not doing that anymore. It's not, you know, like, I'm not saying Carney was saying, you know, we'll still buy stuff from the Americans, but they don't automatically get the contract, right? And rightfully so. Like, we should be building our own stuff as much as possible. Okay, 4 London Jewish ambulances. Yeah, Jewish ambulances. So you see this all over the place. Oh, the Jews have no power. That's just a trope. Blah blah blah. And then they've got their own section of the hospital. They got their these ambulances only serve Jewish people. You know what I mean? Yeah, you see about 4 or 5 guys just fucking Molotov cocktail these ambulances. They start blowing the oxygen tanks start blowing up in the ambulances. Again, did I not tell you this stuff was coming? Just wait till you see by midsummer. By that time, yeah, you're going to see again, it's the 110th expellation of the Jews. I'm not calling for it. I'm saying that's what we're living in right now. You reap what you sow. You piss off everybody on the planet. Again, I know it's not all of them, but it doesn't matter. There's more than enough of them, and the ones in power are absolutely insane. Jews, that is. It doesn't matter if they're Zionists or if they're communists or whatever, like progressives or Again, if you want to oversimplify it, like the George Soros progressive communist, destroy the West because we hate white people and Europeans and whatever, everybody's racist, whatever. Yeah, you got those people ruining everything, and then you've got the open borders people, and then you've got the Henry Kissinger neocon. Let's go to war with absolutely fucking everybody because Israel said so. Yeah. So between those two, you know what I mean. But that said, again, the migrant crisis that's about to take place. Again, as soon as the Mediterranean warms up, you're going to see about 1 million people a month flooding into Europe. It's going to be complete chaos. Just the food shortages from all these people flooding in. And then, of course, I'm sure Carney's going to take in, we need more refugees, right? So, we finally start getting a little bit of a reprieve in the immigration, and we're just going to, Trump fucked it up. Trump and Israel fucked it up, right? So, yeah, people are going to be mad. People are going to be really, really mad. But yeah, you're going to see more attacks like that. I'm not calling for it, but if you're an intelligence officer and you're watching this, yes, you understand people are really mad at the Jews. Again, everybody knows this war is for Israel. It's not America dragging Israel into their war. It is done on behalf of Israel. Almost again, you're probably going to see a military coup in the United States by summer's end, especially if the Iranians start to really hit stuff. And again, the Iranians, I'm not overplaying their capabilities. I'm telling you what they're doing. And they are still fighting very reserved. Believe it, they're not gone scorched earth. Everybody, they're gone scorched earth. No, they're not. Trust me. They are not gone scorched earth. When they go scorched earth, half of Europe is going to be on fire. All of Israel will be completely wiped out. They'll be the amount of people that are about to die in the United States from terror cells and stuff like that. Again, don't kid yourself. The world leaders want this. They want this chaos. Why? Because they want to depopulate the world. That's one. And of course, the Jews, they want to get rid of everybody that's not them. Again, don't take my word for it. Go listen to them. Just go listen to these rabbis. These, we got to, destroy Edom and Amalek and all that. Well, who is that? Who is that exactly? Well, that's Europe. That's Canada. That's the United States. It's Australia, right? Oh, how dare you say that, you anti-Semite? But they're just telling you they want to destroy us. And they'll even say it in such a way that it's like, well, no, this is a good thing because, we're allowed to do this because we're the chosen people. The Talmud of the Torah tells us to do this, right? You can't make it up, guys. It is what it is. These people are insane. Is it all of them? No, but again, if it's probably a better part of 75 to 80% of them are on board with this. So, again, Muslims are not compatible with the West, but neither are Jews. It just is what it is. And that's not anti-Semitism. That is if, more and more people are going to realize this, but the longer it takes them to realize this, the more likely we are to get killed. Israel has us on the brink of thermonuclear war with China and Russia, right? Because of them. Now, Trump backing off, he had to back off. Why? Because the Iranians, every time he threatens, Trump thinks that if I threaten this, they'll back down, right? And the Iranians aren't backing down. They're like you're already at war with us. We're not gonna fucking back down. Oh, you're gonna hit us harder? Yeah. See what happens. So basically, Trump's like, yeah, the 48-hour thing. He's going to extend it. Like he's so desperately looking, he doesn't know what to do. He's just reacting. There is no plan. So they're sending all these people there. We don't even know where they're sending them. Oh, they're going to send them to Cargo Island. That they'll never make it to Cargo Island. Like that's World War II. Look, it's going to be a significant thing when people see the symbology of the Iwo Jima getting sunk, trying to do a landing, a beach landing, right? Here's this warship landing craft. The hovercraft comes out with all the, and the other landing craft, whatever, and you got all these soldiers, and all of a sudden, bang. I mean, if like it'll make, yeah, it basically, yeah, like the Iwo Jima is going to get sunk in the process. And you say, yeah, but it's going to be nowhere near. Yeah, but if it's within landing craft effective range, it's well within cruise missile range. This is what people are not getting, is that it doesn't matter if you put it in the Gulf of Oman, like a couple hundred miles away. You got 300 miles to send these guys. That gauntlet. You got to think of that gauntlet around the strait there. Like, yeah, we'll have A-10s flying cover and drones and blah blah blah, and again, that's World War II. That's World War II. The air defense systems are going to dispatch the A-10s. It's like just because they're not shooting everything down like crazy doesn't mean like the Iranians are they're going to drag this out. Why? Because the longer Trump drags this out, the more damage they can inflict, so that they'll have more time to rebuild. So by the time you go to attack them again, the next time they can hit you 10 times harder. Look, they have recovered most of what they lost since last year. And a lot of people don't realize, when you hear Trump going on about the rocket launchers getting together, well, they lost more last time. You know what I mean? So they're still going. They've lost less, and they're 4 weeks in. You know what I mean? And if you add up what they've lost in targets, not adding human life, but just like in buildings and these delivery trucks and whatever, and even some legitimate targets, what the Iranians have lost in financial equipment is nothing compared to what the United States has lost. I mean, how are those 5 tankers? Are they up and running again? Probably not. You've lost AWACS. You've lost like really, really expensive items. Yeah, they lost their navy, sure, but even at that, like that one F-15 is probably the price of that two warships. You know what I mean, like or more. And there's only a handful of warships. The rest were all little speedboats. Those are, 100 grand at the most. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's and they've got lots to go. They've got lots to go. It's at a point where it's just, does Trump think he can get away with getting all these soldiers to die for a rally around the flag? I don't think it's going to work like that. I think that would spark a military coup in the United States. Why? Because it's just so blatantly obvious that this is a bullshit war. And when Normie Norman basically starts to notice that, I know Canadian Prepper always calls the normies Normie Norman, but it's true though. Yeah, when they start to notice that this is a bullshit war, because like again, the other wars, again, there was no effect really. It didn't matter if you attacked Iraq or Afghanistan. You didn't really feel it at home. Gas prices fluctuated a little bit, but they didn't go up $1 in a month, or $2 in a month. Like your gas prices, like we're in historical times. We've never seen this before. We never seen gas spike like that. Not even during Desert Storm. It went up maybe 10 cents. Maybe by the end of the month, it was up maybe about 20 cents or something like that. This is like dollars, going up by dollars, right? Yeah, nobody voted for this other than Jews and evangelicals. That's it. And again, they're not Christians. They call themselves Christians. They're not Christians. They're Zionists. And the thing is that people are fed up with the left and the right. They don't want to go full retard left again in retaliation. Like they've already done the Biden thing. That's as far progressive left as anybody wants to go, and the Obama stuff. It's like people are just sick and tired of it. So there is time. It is time for new parties, but it can't be run by the Jewish donor class anymore. So you can't vote for anybody that's pro-Israel, or you end up with people like Lindsey Graham, right? Which disgusting cretin of a human being, if he's even human. But the point is that people don't want the progressive left anymore. Like the Gen Z, they don't want it. But nobody wants to be fucking lied to. Like Trump's betrayal is against the world, But the thing is he betrayed his base the worst. The MAGA people, even though you hear the left always going on, oh, we told you so. No, you guys know. They didn't vote for outrageous, outrageous tariffs, right? So, like, maybe Trump and Carney are finally going to make a deal. It's like, okay, look, everything's turned to shit here. How do I save face? Like, Trump only cares about saving face, right? But like if he has any sort of self-preservation, maybe he's thinking, okay, well, if I let it get any worse, the billionaire class is going to have me killed because I'm ruining their investments, right? Even though he signals to them so that they can make money off of this, and they are. Again, you watch all the people that are making, like Bill Gates doesn't lose money. Elon Musk doesn't lose money. Jeff Bezos doesn't lose money. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, their ventures cost money and that, but that doesn't matter because it gets bailed out by the taxpayer, right? These are all evil people. There's no difference between Bezos and Elon Musk. Elon Musk says something cool once in a while, but he's not our guy. Like Trump, same thing. He was never our guy. And the thing is that the what's the guy that just quit there? Anyway, what he was saying, like about the whole, he's kind of saying that, well, it looks like Netanyahu had Charlie Kirk killed, and the conspiracies there. I'm not following the Erica Kirk thing, but some people saying like, well, it looks like she was really, like if she runs for president, then you know what happened. But yeah, it does look like Charlie Kirk was finally waking up to the anti-Jewish, anti-Zionist thing, right? Well, anti-Jewish, anti-Zionism. It is, Jonathan Greenblatt is right. If you're anti-Jewish, you're anti-Zionist. If you're anti-Zionist, you're anti-Jewish. Yes, because they're synonymous. They're one and the same, right? Not every Jew is a Zionist, but most Zionists are Jews, right? Except for the evangelicals. But that said, it's really one of those things that, like the mask off moments that we're seeing, right? People are like, okay, how much longer are we going to do this? Like, how much more are we going to let this corruption go? Like, how many more pedophile rings are we going to let go? Like the left believes this is all just about the Epstein thing. They don't care about the Epstein thing. The judges and the lawyers and the law enforcement are protecting the pedophiles. You know what I mean? You seen that guy after Dan Bongino the other day there, ex-cop. The guy was right. He was like, do your job. You know what I mean? No, we can't convict these people. Like Pam Bondi said, she had her Eric Holder moment. Well, too big to jail. Oh, it would disrupt the system too much if we put these people in jail. Well, maybe that system needs to go die, right? Look, there's no easy way out, so we might as well do the right thing. We might as well, like, if we're gonna have $30 gasoline, you know what I mean, per liter. I want to see heads roll. You know what I mean? I want to see the death penalty for all like these Zionist neocon death cults. They want to die anyway. You know what I mean? So let's at least restore the rule of law. But you need brave law enforcement and non-corrupt judges and lawyers to do this, right? Yeah, it's just, Like how much longer is it going to go? Because again, the less rule of law we have, like I'm not worried about the Iranians taking down the United States. That's not how it's going to fall. It's going to fall from within. Like I've been saying since 2010, the globalist thing, and this was on behalf of China too. The biggest beneficiary would be China if the United States could, just go into civil war mode and break up into a whole bunch of secession movements. Because then you get all these like mini nation states. You can just pick them off over the next 100 years, buy them out as they go bankrupt, right? Yeah. So the Great Reset thing, like Klaus Schwab was saying, oh, there's going to be a whole bunch of little wars everywhere, blah blah blah, and it's all playing out like that. How do these people know that? It's not because these people are smarter than the average person. It's because they finance it. They backdrop it. So like Klaus Schwab and Donald Trump are the same. You know what I mean? So Netanyahu, he answers to the same people that Trump does. It's the same donor class. It's these really radical people. But the thing is that people are starting to say the quiet part out loud, and it's the normies. The normies are saying the quiet part out loud. We are doing this because of Israel, and I told you guys this for decades. Well, almost decades. Well, decade and a half anyway. Since 2010, I've been pretty much, figuring out that Israel is not the ally that, again, name one good thing that country has done for another country. Like just one thing. Again, I'm not saying every Jew is evil or whatever, but I'm saying, like, look, the bad apple theory is going to take over here. One bad apple spoils the whole damn bunch. Problem is when most of the apples are rotten, it's a guarantee. And again, it's the 110th explanation of the Jews because you reap what you sow. And the problem with Jewish people is, as a group, they're incapable of self-reflection. And then you factor in religious fanaticism, where they know what they're doing is evil. They know they're making everybody angry with them, but they don't care because it's God's word that everybody's supposed to persecute them. So there's that angle of it. And then there's okay, well, we need the Mashiach, their Messiah, burn some red heifers or whatever. All that's going on right now. These people that you see in Israel cheering and partying and everything like that, they truly believe they're about to get the Messiah, right? They truly believe this. They're that crazy. And again, it's the same with the Muslims. Like they think they're going to get Dajjal and their Messiah, right? And the evangelicals think they're going to get the second coming of Christ, right? So yes, it is the 10th Crusade. It is a holy war. This is a lot of people don't understand. Like, okay, what is the objective in Iran? We can't figure it out. We can't. This is just a disaster. It's not a disaster. It's going according to plan. Trump's plan is not to have this major democracy on Iran. That's not, no. The goal is to kill every Iranian as fast as you can, and everybody in the Middle East that's Muslim, because as soon as you do, Israel can control the whole thing. This is openly admitted. This is not my words, it's theirs. What do you think the Greater Israel Project is? Why do you think Netanyahu, halfway into a war, well, maybe not halfway, I mean, this is going to go on for years probably, but, into this war, barely started, and he's already talking about knocking out Turkey. What do you think that, it's biblical, guys. It's biblical. Now you say, yeah, but Reg, I don't believe in that stuff. And again, I'll say it. It's not what you believe. It's what the crazy people that are in charge of the big red button believe, right? The people with the money, what they believe. So what do? Well, we're along for the ride. Don't get killed in the crossfire. That's why my New Year's resolution for 2026 was one thing. Don't die. Just don't get killed. Like everywhere you go. Like, look, last night there was a freaking a RCJ 900 in Toronto there, I think it was, or I forget which airport. Anyway, basically smoked the freaking emergency truck out on the highway or on the runway. Killing both pilots. An airplane stuck up in the air. Was it an air traffic controller thing? I don't know. People are distracted, right? Was it an actual, peace truck driving? Maybe the guy didn't screw up and he was telling the guy to stop. Again, if it's an air traffic controller, uh, that's one thing. But it could have been someone saying, "Well, no, I'm going to kill these people." Durka Durka. Look, you've got people throwing firebombing Jewish ambulances. I'm pretty sure if you check the nationality of these people, they're not going to be, Mr. John Smith or Johnny Johnson, or like that's they're not going to be British guys. They're going to be Muslims. You know what I mean? Guaranteed. They might be Antifa. Okay. There's a possibility, but the Antifa, like they attack white people predominantly. Why? Because oppressor. You know what I mean? They're brainwashed into the Marxism. But the thing is that you're going to see this everywhere in the world. Like there are no safe places for Jews now. The safest place that they could have been in was Israel. All they had to do was play nice with everybody. Like they could have killed people with kindness. Like they could have said, "Look, okay, well, Gaza, how about this? We'll give you all this. You run yourselves. You however you want. You just stay on your side of the fence. We'll stay on our side of the fence. We'll let you develop whatever you want to develop. We'll just stay out of each other's hair." They could have done that. I mean, there's other Christian groups all over the Middle East that did that. They did that in Lebanon. The Christians are in the Christian area, and the Muslims are in the Muslim area. And they all just kind of do their thing, right? Lebanon, yeah, Lebanon is really tactically encircling the Iranians, but they haven't made a complete offensive yet. I don't think they're going to do that till, because you got to understand, like, as much as stuff has been destroyed, there's still a lot of stuff left, right? Like the Israelis, I don't know where they're putting their aircraft. They're definitely not keeping them in Israel. There's no way. Like they'd lose them all. So we don't know where they're flying out of. The American bases have pretty much all been neutralized in the region. This is why you've seen a massive drop, and I told you this about 3 nights ago, that you were going to see a massive drop for a couple of reasons. Number one, for maintenance. Number two, lack of fuel. just all that fucking oil getting blown up, and it takes its toll. I mean, again, an F-16, 600 gallons of fuel internally. You know what I mean? Like put some drop tanks and then fly that thing for 10 hours. Yeah, that's going to suck up like if they're cruising at say like 300-400 knots, I mean, all like what? That's 3 fuel ups, 3 or 4 fuelings that they do a day. Yeah, like times 300 aircraft, whatever it is. Yeah, it's and F-15s. I mean, those things are massive guzzlers. The F-35 is still like, I mean, any military jet is going to be a guzzler. Uh, so there's the maintenance area. There was a C-130 that crashed in South America. I don't know the deal with that. I don't know if it's going to. I mean, just because something doesn't happen, that happens somewhere else, it does not necessarily mean it's not. I think it was in Chile or someplace like that. A bunch of soldiers crashed in a C-130. I couldn't tell you any more than that. Next to that, again, I think what we're going to see is if Trump tries to find his way out, like the damage is already done. I mean, even if they were to stop today, the damage is already done. But the airstrikes, it's like, okay, like Trump has to find a way to come out and say victory. Iran's not going to give them that. They're not going to get, like, yes, Iran wants to stop the war, but they also want to get revenge, right? So they're like, no way, like we're not going to, let you keep doing this. You hit us, and then as soon as we start hitting you back, okay, let's have peace now. No. It's like, okay, you hit us, we're fucking wiping out your military. We're wiping out your airfields. You're not going to be able to stage there anymore. And these Gulf states, like, how much economic damage are they willing to take for themselves, right? They've taken a lot. Like some of these Gulf nations, they've basically lost their economies. You won't see it for another couple of weeks or so, because you have to think of all the technical tradespeople that are like leaving the country. Anybody in finance, why? Because the banks are a target for missiles. Anybody that's working on any sort of industrial gas fields or oil or whatever, they're gone. Anybody in the hospitality, Yeah, sure. I'm sure you get, working in a Ritz hotel in Dubai. Yeah, sure, you get $100 tips every 5 minutes. Sure, that's great. But is it worth getting a rocket to the face? No, probably not. You're not going to get those foreign workers back. You know what I mean? They're gone. They're gone. You know what I mean? So we're going to see a collapse financially of the Middle East, no matter what. Not just Iran. Like Iran, it doesn't really matter because they're already under sanctions anyway. Like they were, they just got to find ways to keep that new train station that they've opened up, which is a central hub for the BRICS nations in the region. That'll link them from basically Russia to China to, out to Pakistan to anywhere and everywhere. You know, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, no, Trump is definitely desperate right now. Like it's like he really truly believed the rhetoric. Again, it's not about the equipment. Like, look, training wise, the Americans have got the best military in the world, training wise, if you're basing them on a World War II model, right? Warship to warship, aircraft carriers, tank to tank. Yeah, but drones, rockets, the Americans are, like their air defense systems, even if they're the best air defense systems in the world, even if you give it that, they're maybe 50%, 30% effective against these rockets, which are way cheaper. you know, and when you look at the damage that these rockets, like the footage, like I said, it'd take a couple of weeks for the footage to leak out, but the footage is coming out from like all over Israel, and it's starting to look like freaking Gaza all over Israel. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Israel's pretty small, sure, but there's still a lot of territory to blow up. You know what I mean? Like, not every city street is blown up, but the critical stuff is getting hit. The stuff that keeps stuff running. Look, Trump threatened to wipe out all the oil and all the desalination plants and stuff like that. And I'm wondering because the Iranians like, yeah, you do that while everybody in the Middle East is going to be dead in 3 days because they're not going to have any water. You know what I mean? So the Iranians like, yeah, no, we can play that card too. You wipe out our food. Like Syria didn't do this. See, if Syria would have been smart, it would have hung on to its chemical weapons. And as soon as the Israelis started arming ISIS, they should have fucking chemically warfared Israel. That would have made them back off. But you see, Assad didn't want the Americans to come in and invade, but they did anyway. You know what I mean? Like the Americans went and stole the oil from the Syrians anyway. They armed ISIS anyway. It's just the problem was for Syria is when it got hit in 2009, 2010 after Libya, like they didn't get ready when they saw it happening to Libya because they didn't think it was going to happen to them. Assad came to the table, Syria came to the table, the same way Iran did, the same way they all did, and started to do these fake negotiations. The Iranian, the one big thing, like when the Americans now say, okay, well, we're going to have peace talks with this country, that country, it means nothing. It means nothing. Because the American word doesn't mean anything to anybody outside the United States, and half Americans, like, it's like they can't, like their government has betrayed them, right? More than half. Well, the Trump administration, like every administration before it, is betrayed every person in the United States, even the people that vote for it, right? Like the same thing, like under Joe Biden. Like Joe Biden, he betrayed his base too. You know what I mean? That's why so many Democrats, protest voted for Trump. It was a record number. Why? Because Trump was just a better liar. That's. Somebody was talking. I forget who it was, or saying like, the whole Trump getting shot and stuff like that. In hindsight, it was awfully convenient. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, no, they shot the man, whatever. But now I don't know. I'm like, I mean, the guy was a big, what do you call it? Like a big fan of WWF or WWE, right? World Wrestling Federation. Maybe he just did the razor blade on the. That's I can't dismiss it. Because people did die There were live bullets, but then why would they? Like if you think about it, that high speed, the guy with the journalist with the extremely high speed camera to catch the bullets in the air. So I think they did whiz bullets by him, and then shot a few people in the background just to show you that the bullets were real. But it was, again, is there a way to know? I don't know. Like when he went down, you know, like when he went down, you don't know. Like you don't know. Like you don't know. But if it ever came out that Trump faked it, um, would I be surprised? No. Or did he just, no good crisis goes to waste? I don't know. It's hard to say because that's how these world elites work. Is something bad happens, and that's why everybody thinks they plan everything. It's like they don't necessarily plan everything, but they capitalize on everything. So when something bad happens, no good crisis goes to waste. Let's use that to do this. If there's a public shooting, let's use it for gun control. If there's, whatever, you know what I mean? So maybe that's what Trump did. The Charlie Kirk thing. Yeah, he was clearly assassinated. Um, you know, but was he important enough to assassinate? That's the question. Like, I get the TPUSA thing, the money angle of it, or whatever, but they could have always find another Charlie Kirk. You know what I mean? Like, he's not. I know people. Like I never really listened to him. Some of the stuff I like, but to me he was no different than Ben Shapiro. Maybe he had like again, like you're seeing like like Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, like those people. I've always seen those people as they can go like 95% of the truth, but that last 5% they'll never touch. Even Alex Jones was like that. Alex Jones was probably the guy that got the closest. Now he's kind of like, okay, yeah, it is Israel, but it's the deep state in Israel. Like there's still that Q kind of bullshit when it's like, no, you have to understand, birds of a feather. You know what I mean? Like people act in their interest, and even if some of the interests don't make sense to you, like I get it. Like I'm a person that I don't hate people. I don't hate Jews. I don't hate Jews as a group. You know what I mean? But I understand the threat that they pose as a group just because they've been allowed to get away and without criticism, and stuff like that. They have the whole system backing them, and you follow the radical Zionists and just the stuff they say out loud. It's the stuff they say out loud. Like again, people wonder why I'm so accurate on my predictions all the time. Well, it's very easy. I don't go and get my information from Alex Jones or somebody like that or the 6 o'clock news. I just listen to the guy at the microphone. Just listen to that. Yeah, it's hard to stomach listening to guys like Henry Kissinger, George Soros, or Bill Gates, or Trump, or Biden, or Carney, or whatever. Yeah, it's infuriating. Your blood boils because it triggers you just to listen to these fucking evil cocksuckers, right? But that said, that's where the information is. Like if you want to know what the Greater Israel Project is going to entail, listen to Netanyahu. Listen to the men beside him. Listen to his top generals. You want to know what the Iranians are thinking? Just listen to listen to that ambassador guy. That guy's he's a fucking gold mine. I'm sure not everything he's telling you is the truth, but name one of them that is. But they do say the quiet part out loud once in a while. Listen to fucking what you call it, Hegseth. Yeah, we wouldn't. Like now people can really start to say, well, it's not really a crusade. Yes, it is. These people can't contain themselves. They're psychopaths. They can't wait to die in the name of the holy war. You know what I mean? And say, oh, these fucking Christians. No, they're doing it on behalf of Zionists. Fucking Jews. But here's the kicker. The Muslims, again, these guys in Riyadh, like again, these royal families, they might be Muslim, but they are end times doomers. They are 12ers. They are, again, when you understand like the day of reckoning, Judgment Day, Armageddon, and you understand, Christians will understand it from their perspective, right? And that's fine. But you should also understand it from the Muslim perspective, and there's about 3 or 4 different perspectives there. Like the Sunni Shia war is, that has a lot to do with them disagreeing on the end times prophecy stuff, right? And other groups as well. The same thing with the Jews. Like, I mean, the Ashkenazi versus the Khazarians versus the Chabad Lubavitch. Yeah, these guys disagree. They're Jewish groups that fight each other. There's about 123 Jewish groups. You know, 123 give or take, right? But it's around that. Denominations of Christianity is like 40,000. You know what I mean? Denominations of Islam is probably, you know, I think there's like 12 or 15 or 40 different versions, and then if you go into these little enclaves, it turns into thousands. You know what I mean? So like Turkish Muslims, like Ottoman Empire Muslims versus like Persian Muslims versus like Arab Muslims versus like again versus Muslims from the Philippines. You know what I mean? Like they all have their flavors, right? They all have their flavors, but there is a lot of commonality. You know. So you factor all that in. So I know the atheists will say that all religion is evil. It's not. It's not the average person that brings us to war. The average person, even the average Jewish person, is not going to be the one bringing you to war. It's the people in power, where the money is, you know. And the Jews have played a better game than anybody else, where they've learned how to subvert. They did the long march through the institutions. They've learned how to do it. They've got things like the ADL. They've got like hundreds of Jewish groups around the world making sure that nobody steps out of line when it comes to what they want. Whether it's open borders, whether it's the Third Temple Mount being rebuilt, whether it's whatever, hate speech laws, anti-Semitism laws of all kinds, whether it's Holocaust and all. Like they control all this, right? They control all this. They control the judges. They control the lawyers. Whether it's keeping the Epstein files at bay, whatever it is. Again, it's always a Steinsteiner Berg that comes up with these bad things. So when I pull this out, like I tell you, it's from their point of view. It's just you're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud. That's where they hammer you, right? But the noticing, you know what I mean? Like when Normie Norman is out there, and again, I don't talk politics with anybody in person. I'm not interested in doing that. Like I'm not saying I'm not interested in doing, interviews and stuff like that. I'd love to be able to do stuff like that. I'm not interested in talking to the average person that watches like Fox News or the CBC and thinking that they know what's going on. Like, there's no point talking to a single boomer, really about anything geopolitical because they have no fucking clue. Like maybe 2 out of every 100 will know what's going on, but no, they typically have no clue whatsoever. Like they believe everything they hear on TV. The everything on the internet is fake news, but the TV is telling you the truth, right? Like, I go with my grandfather's rules. Believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see. You know what I mean? And again, I get stuff wrong, and I usually correct when I do. And I understand there's different takes and different perspectives. Not necessarily right or wrong, but it is what it is. But honing in on what's accurate, like the pitch battle. Everybody, okay, how many rockets were fired? And America's winning because we destroyed more stuff. It doesn't work like that. Like how many decoys did you hit? You know what I mean? Like if 10% of all bombs dropped was on decoys, that's major savings for the Iranians. Even if you destroy more targets, does not guarantee you. Like if you think about who's racking up more damage, well, if you're just looking at bombs dropped, yes, the Americans and the Israelis are damaging more structures in Iran than the other way around. But if you looked at it, like the Iranians haven't gone scorched earth yet. They're still hitting selective targets. It's very clear. They hit another intelligence agency. Like they're going after Netanyahu's properties. They're going after radar installations. Like stuff that's going to make a difference in the war. And I'm sure some of their stuff they're hitting is decoys too. It's a two-way street, right? But at the end of the day, closing down the Strait of Hormuz, leaving it, and again, when they, people will say, oh, well, they're going to close it down even more. Yes, they can, because a lot of people don't realize, like, the only people that can't get oil out of the strait is the people that don't get, permission from the Iranians. So, for example, if you're if you're backing Israel and the United States in any way, your ship does not get through. But at some point, it won't matter. There's going to be nothing to go pick up anyway or drop off because everything's going to be destroyed. All the ports are getting hit. You know what I mean? Taking out a major port and shipping structure, like just taking out the cranes that unload the ships, creates a logistics nightmare. Like, how do you unload a freighter full of spoiling food? You know what I mean? Like, it just goes and it goes and it goes. You take out the financial sector. You take out the tourism sector. All these airliners that have been destroyed. Data centers. It just goes and goes. Like just the windows. Like I say, like when a rocket hits, 10 blocks of windows get blown out. You know, you know. Then you take out the glass manufacturer. Like like again, it's just these capitalists that come out and they're like, oh no, war's good for the economy because you have to rebuild everything. Yeah, no, the creative destruction argument is not really like that's kind of like the communist argument of the doctor versus the teacher, or the doctor versus the garbage man. Like both are invaluable in society. Yes, to a degree. Yeah, like yes, you need both. Look, Cuba. Like everybody around the world are like, okay, yeah, we're not a fan of Raul Castro and his ilk, but like Cuba was doing nothing to the United States. They weren't doing any, like Cuba was absolutely no threat to the United States at all. No threat. Oh, we were getting oil from Venezuela. You know what I mean? We were getting tourists. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. It's just yeah, making all those people suffer for the sake of suffering. That's evil. That's evil. All these Iranian people suffering for the sake of suffering. So yeah, but they're hurting the Jews in Israel. Well, they wouldn't be if you didn't attack them. But 47 years of terrorism. Okay, yeah, let's get specific on that. If you want to use that as a talking point, you better get fucking specific. And well, yeah, don't believe anything Trump says. Don't believe anything his administration says. They lie about everything. They can't tell the truth. They don't know how to tell the truth. That's the problem with these chronic liars. Like, do you really think there's a guy in Iran talking to Trump? And if it is, what's the level of this guy's importance? Yeah, okay, if you just kill this guy, 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 I'll take over. Like is that what we're supposed to believe? Like, no. And sure, yeah, the Iranians have lost some high personnel, but I have no doubt that the Israelis are taken. This idea that we can never, like the Iranians can never even come close to doing any real damage against the United States or the Israelis. Like, I'm like, come on, they've got intelligence everywhere. Look, there was reports. What was it? That there was basically Iranian spies. They made it through like 2 or 3 levels of security on a British naval base going towards their submarines. Were they going to sabotage like some nuclear submarines? I don't know. Like right now, my concern is the Gerald Ford parked at dock. I could see rockets pummeling that thing. If they destroy that aircraft carrier at the dock, number one, would be humiliating for the hosting country. I think it's Italy. And number two, it's going to be an ecological disaster because there's a reactor on there, right? Now, to my knowledge, the Dimona reactor has not been hit, but everything around it because there's intelligence agencies all around it. Now, mind you, right now there's another economic storm coming up in the States, and that is that all these data centers that were basically driving the 92% of the GDP for the past year, well, the data centers are all built. Like I said, as soon as they're built, well, then, like there's like $1.2 trillion of data centers built. and they're not making any money. They're not going to make any money. It's a, again, it's just more neocon weaponry. We gotta, like, if we're going to have the Internet of Things and the Chinese style social credit score, we need all these data centers, and we need data centers to just like fucking bombard YouTube with fucking AI fucking bots. Oh my god, isn't it insufferable or what? There's people talking about this, that you're starting to see a trend of people just getting off of like YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. And I think you're going to see that get people back into the real world. Problem is you have to stay informed. Problem is that like the AI slop, like as soon as you hear an AI voice, turn it off. Just turn it off. If it's news, just turn it off. I'm not saying don't watch any AI videos. Some of the AI videos are spectacular, especially like elves and magical lands and stuff like that. Oh, I love that. It's great. Some of the music is actually not bad, but I'm kind of against it, just out of the protest that I want to hear real musicians. You know what I mean? But even with that, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like it's just all slop. You know, like if I hear the word Griffin said Gripen one more time, just say Gripen one more time. You know what I mean? It's like, and to buy the Gripen, it's a fucking Griffin. Griffin, it's a fucking flying line, man. It's Griffin. You fuckers. Like an AI is supposed to be help humanity. They can't even fucking get. Send the asteroid. No, wait, they are. Oh yeah, you're probably not hearing, but we've been being pelted by like fucking meteors and asteroids for the past month, and like totally doesn't make the news, but it's like something big's coming. I don't know if again, maybe this is what they're this whole why they did the war now. Maybe there's a space telescope. Oh, there's Wormwood. If you don't know about the Wormwood prophecies, it sounds like a big ass ice rock that's gonna fucking smash the shit out of us. Maybe we deserve it. I don't know. I mean, like, can't people just like have a normal life? Like, go collect some books. Write a book. Make some music. Do stuff like that. Go socialize. No. We have to do this fucking genocidal fucking stuff because of a blood libel from 4,000 years ago. Just go fuck yourself already. Fuck your couch. You know what I mean? These people are insufferable. Like like the radical left is insufferable. The Zionist neocons are insufferable. These war hawks are insufferable. These fucking disingenuous elites are insufferable. These coward law enforcement military that won't go after the pedophile rings are insufferable. Like, it's all insufferable. It's aggravating, right? But what are the history books written about? All this stuff. Like, it's all this stuff. It's the same type of people that just cannot function in society. You know what I mean? But anyway, life could be so easy. We could be rocketing around the frick on starships right now if it wasn't for all this stupid war. Sure, you have to leave the primal people in the jungles. I get that, but leave them be. They're happier there anyway. Yeah. Anyway, time for breakaway society. That's for sure. That is definitely for sure. But anyway, we'll see what happens. So we'll see what kind of craziness tomorrow brings. Again, Iran is not going to fold. They've prepared for this war. They've prepared to endure for a long time. The people, like the Iranians, are out there in solidarity in majority with their armed forces. So sure, like I say, nobody likes their government around the world. I think we can all agree on that. But I can also say that I can guarantee you the all these when Trump says and Netanyahu say, yeah, well, we want the good Iranians to rise up and do. Yeah, of course they want you to kill more Iranians. Like they're not going to come and save you. You know what I mean? Like they don't care about your human rights and all. They don't. They just fucking bombed the school. They hit it 3 times with rockets and missiles or bombs and missiles. They hit it 3 times. Right? They don't care about the Iranian people. They want to kill as many Iranians as they can. So once they're done with the Iranians, then they can kill off everybody else in the Gulf states. But you see, you have to understand, for Israel, like they're like, yeah, no, attack the stuff that'll make the Iranians wipe out, do the heavy lifting for the Israelis. So if they can completely destroy the Saudis, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and make all those people starve to death, the Israelis would be more than happy. Why? Because then they don't have to deal with them in the future, right? But what they weren't counting on was half of Israel being completely destroyed, to possibly all of Israel being destroyed to the point. Like again, the Israelis don't really care how much damage the Iranians do to Israel because America is going to rebuild it for them, right? They know this. You don't believe me? Well, again, did I not mention 4 Jewish ambulances? Like again, they've got their own hospitals. Like the Israelis, their healthcare system is paid for pretty much by America. Like again, all this worship money, right? Because they're better than us. They're the chosen people. Right? Again, you can't make it up, guys. You can't make it up. Call me any name you want, or racist, bigot, whatever, anti-Semite, fine. But am I wrong? Yeah, like, no, you won't be able to prove me wrong. And that's the thing. Like, the only thing people got at this point is, okay, how could we shame this guy? How could we debank him? How could we do all these things? That's the only thing they got. Like they've already lost. And again, this time though, it's during the digital age, so they're not going to be able to just run and hide like they were after World War II and all these years. I think it's going to be very, like, people are going to want accountability for all this, and you can't put it all on Trump because it's not just Trump. I think that's the part that a lot of people are waking up to now. That it's like, for years I always blamed the guy that's the poster child, right? Like, Canada screwed up because of Trudeau. Trudeau was dumb as a bag of hammers. He was just following policies that he was given by world elites from the World Economic Forum, the Davos crowd, etc., the Rothschild banking, etc., etc. The same way Trump is. It's just Trudeau, fucked us probably for the next 20 years. Carney's still following the same people. It's just he's doing something different. Like he's well, here, I'll make you money. Like, I'll make my, and that's all Carney cares about is the investor class, right? But he also knows he doesn't want to get overthrown. Like, he sees what's happening to Trump. Like, Carney knows, like, Trump's days are numbered. Like, he's just trying to stay under the radar and tell it. Like, he knows they're going to kill him. Whether it's going to be the CIA, the Mossad, or an Iranian proxy group, or most likely the number one person to kill Trump is going to be a voter, like a MAGA voter. Basically, probably a veteran sniper. That's what I'm putting my money on, because that's what the indications are telling me just by connecting the dots. If I listen to this person, that's a veteran that didn't vote. And again, it's the same language, same buzzwords. I did not vote for this. This man's going to get my people killed. Wait till their brother comes back who was out deployed and died before the Iwo Jima could even open its fucking gate. You know what I mean? And landing craft could even be let out. That is going to send people in a whirl. Flag draped coffins are bad PR. So even when you have Trump out there, and again, there's still going to be that, like that one person that'll, oh, thank you, Mr. President, for honoring my it's like, this guy just sent your fucking loved one to die, for Israel. Like, it just, I get it. There's a culture there, the military stuff. You get this with the boomers, that World War II, and stuff like that. Like, you can't critique anything, whatever. And again, I'm not saying all these guys in World War II, were dumb or anything like that. No, they had no way to figure out that these were fake wars. But the thing is, and this is what people don't get, like this whole thing on Reddit. Oh, we had to do it right now. Okay, like it was a win, right? This is why all wars are a racket. The very scenario for the very group that is over there right now, I forget which one of the 3 groups that they've sent of these batches of 2,200 and 3,000 and 2,500, whatever it is, whatever the number is, right? These guys have been training on bases set up like Iranian territory, down to the color schemes of the fake air defenses, defense systems. I forget the name of the the training. Basically, guys have been training for at least 2 years for this mission. Oh, but it's just a spontaneous war. No, you know what a spontaneous war is? Tutsis and Zulus start throwing spears at each other, because of something that happened 500 years ago. That's spontaneous, and if they do it on a Friday night, it lasts for like through the weekend, and then they're done. And then they're done. Everybody goes back to doing their thing. No, this whole war has been planned out, piss poorly planned out, because it was supposed to, a couple of days. The Iranians were supposed to just fold, but again, Canada was supposed to just be, threaten economic warfare against them, and they'll fold right away. And then we went into "fuck you, make me" mode, elbows up, right? And again, I know people, elbows up. Every time something goes wrong, that's the first thing they say is, look, see there, where's your elbows up, right? Look, we are all in a mess. Canada has an everything crisis. Home prices are slightly dropping a year after Carney takes power. So the policies take time to work. It's going to be 4 or 5 years before you see any sort of real positive change, as long as nothing gets worse. Look, inflation was down by 1.8% until fucktards started a war. Now it's up again, food and fuel, right? Immigration is slowly going down. Trump would give up on the ICE thing. He pretty much, that's it. It's done. Again, he tacos on everything, right? That's one thing about these Zionist neocon psychos, is that they're such psychos, especially when they're as narcissistic as Trump. It's like when things don't go his way, he just drops it, leaves it. Like he doesn't pick up his toys. You know what I mean? When he's done with it, he just, it's not going the way I want, so I'll do something else now. So he's going to go, maybe he'll attack Cuba or Greenland or us up here in Canada and see how that goes. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, which would be just as disastrous or more disastrous attacking Canada, I think. And I know a lot of people, the Canadian Armed Forces, they're nothing. It's the strategy, guys. It's always the strategy. It's not always like air power. You can't win a war with air power. You can't win a war with air power. That's not, even in World War II, you couldn't win the war with air power. Like you had to put millions of guys on the ground to do that. You took millions of guys storming Iwo Jima, tens of thousands of guys storming Iwo Jima, an island in the middle of nowhere that the Japanese couldn't be resupplied, and they held out for almost 2 fucking years on that island after the war was over. I mean, it was like 1946 before the last soldier left Iwo Jima. You know what I mean? So did they? We wanted to. Not really. When you really look at the story, like no, that island was infested with Japanese right past the end. The best Japanese holdout was one guy. It was about 1994 or 95 before he surrendered. He was a Japanese soldier. They sent him to somewhere in the Philippines, and with a bunch of guys, and the rest of the guys either died or ran away. And he was the last one at his post, but nobody told him the war was over. So like he held there. He was even shooting at locals every now and then when he'd see them. Everybody's like, there's a crazy guy in the jungle in a Japanese uniform. Yeah, it got to the point where he just folded his uniform before it was destroyed. Ran around basically with his Jawa rifle or whatever, the 7x7. That's just crazy. But hey, they were dedicated. Yeah, they were dedicated. They had a hard time trying to get close to him enough to let him know that the war was over. Like, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, like this idea, like, look, the Trump administration is going to nuke Iran because Israel's already told them to do it. It's just they don't know how to get around it so that they don't trigger Pakistan wiping out Israel, because Pakistan has said, if you nuke Iran, we nuke you. If you're going to fight fair. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you're hearing normies on mainstream television saying that Israel is the biggest threat to the world, even bigger than the Chinese and the Russians. And they are, because without Israel, you wouldn't have the Ukraine war. Without Israel, you wouldn't have the, Libya destabilized and Syria destabilized. You wouldn't have the migrant crisis, right? And again, it's just, it just goes and it goes and it goes, and it always comes back to the the same people, right? So people are pissed. People are pissed, rightfully so, rightfully so. So I don't know what Trump is going to do next. It's going to be something bizarre. You're not going to get B-52s directly over there. So like the B-61 nukes, right? These things, they're gravity bombs. So you might get a B-2 or so over, but again, just vaporizing a bunch of Iranians like that will basically the entire House of Islam everywhere in the world. Like you're already starting to see, like I say, the crazies will snap first, the loyalists will snap second. So one guy wears a Property of Islam shirt, goes and shoots up a place. Okay, that's the crazy, right? That goes out and whatever. But you get four guys firebombing four Jewish ambulances in the UK. Guess what? Yeah, that's a coordinated attack, guys. That is the House of Islam saying, okay, you know what, we're going to kill the infidels. Again, just wait till the weather gets warmer. Anywhere you go, keep your head on a swivel. Don't stand beside anybody Jewish. Like, sorry, if you're a Jew and you're watching this, I get it. Yeah, you hate the goyim, whatever. But yeah, no, you guys are like a liability. You're targets. And again, the Arabs are going to wipe you out. Like it's not going to be Whitey. And the thing is, yes, the Zionist evangelicals will go die for you, left, right, center. But there's no way for those guys to be effective. The U.S. military is ineffective against Iran. It is. Doesn't matter. You send everything you have. You send all your nukes, whatever. They're still going to win. It's the strategy's better. Firing missiles out of mountaintops and manufacturing them in the mountain is kind of an unbeatable strategy. There's just no way to get in there. Your Mossad guys can't get in there. Your CIA guys can't get in there. And don't get me wrong, those guys are crawling all over the Middle East. But it doesn't mean the Iranian guys aren't out there as well, Israel. And you're hearing about it. Right? How do you think they're finding the intelligence guys? It's got to be the Iranian 007s. So there's probably as many of them as there is Mossad. So this is why I think the effect, when you hear of like an underground, undisclosed underground, command center, Israeli command center getting hit, chances are it's probably going to be true, right? Because it's like it's not every day, but they are hitting stuff, right? So who's running Israel? Nobody knows. You know what I mean? Netanyahu, I'm sure he's probably in the United States. God knows where he is. He's not in Israel, guys. He's not in Israel. Like a lot of people don't realize, like when you see like them standing in front of like at the podium that they're normally standing, like there's replica rooms, right? That like the White House, like there's like all these fake White House places to transmit from, right? So you don't know where they're at. Look, there's a reason why Trump is spending so much time on Air Force One. You know what I mean? Like he's up in the air all the time. Like where's he going? Like he's not going to this country or that country or whatever. He's just up there flying around. Why? Because I think the Iranians have said the quiet part out loud. Said, yeah, have a nice week. Good luck trying to survive. Like again, at some point you're going to get an Iranian sympathizer on one of these. I know there's like 2 or 3 Air Force Ones or whatever, whether the helicopter, or Hilo One or whichever. At some point you're going to get, like the guy will just ditch the airplane into the ground and kill half the, you kill the entire administration. You know what I mean? That like there's going to be a decapitation strike in the States. I don't know how it doesn't happen at this point. I'm not calling for it. I'm just saying I just don't know how it doesn't happen because the U.S. military, the guys that are looking at this, they're looking at Hegseth as like a rogue wingnut, and it's like, okay, well, Congress is kind of useless to do anything about it because 2/3 of them are Jewish, so they're whether they're on the left or on the right, they're going along with it. Like yes, the the Democrats are going to use it like, oh, this war is illegal, but yeah, Joe Biden's wars weren't illegal, Obama's wars weren't illegal. You know what I mean? It's the same, and you're doing it for the same people. It's just Trump made it so obvious Netanyahu made it so obvious this time. It's just like, okay, we got to go for broke now because if we lose this, we're never getting another chance. And the thing is they're not going to get another chance, and Israel will not be successful on this one at all because, like the rest of the world is against Israel, right? People aren't going to do their bidding anymore. What's the name of the guy that just quit? This is what I'm watching for. So this is the second person. The first one is that lady, and she was out there talking to Tucker Carlson, that Catholic lady there, the blonde lady, that was like, yeah, no, we're not going to fight Israel's wars. And she was basically describing how nuts the evangelicals were. They're like, yeah, well, maybe don't use your social media for the next 2 years or whatever, stuff like that. And she's, like they're basically threatening her. You know what I mean? So she's like, no, 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 we're not doing this. Because that would be considered, if you use your social media and call out Israel, that might be considered anti-Semitic. Fuck them. I don't, like if I have to be an anti-Semite to tell the truth, well then that's what the truth is going to require. You know what I mean? Like it's I'll tell you what. I'll stop being an anti-Semite if you stop destroying the world. Very easy. I'll make you that deal. I'd be happy. You'll be happy. But like that's the problem with these. Again, these radical Zionists and stuff like that. And it's just radical Jews across the board, whether they're on the left or on the right. We're done with them. You know what I mean? They're destroying their own. They're destroying everybody. They want to destroy all the European white people because of the Romans fucked us over, so we're going to get rid of. We're going to use multiculturalism to destroy the rest of Europe. Or Canada, the United States, whatever. It's not going to last because the balkanization has already taken place. People are tribal. White people are starting to become more tribal. They'll be the last to become tribal because they've been so brainwashed in hyper-individuality and like Freudianism and the Enlightenment and all that stuff that has been very, very detrimental to our heritage, culture, society. Like nobody else in the world does this other than white people, like this, like basically self-harming altruism. Like it's bizarre, but like it's going to take a while to undo that brainwashing. But reality is the best teacher. You know what I mean? Like, look, the left, who's been nurtured by the Jewish groups in colleges and universities for decades, the long march through the institution, is completely turned on them, which is kind of like, it's ironically funny because it's like. But it's like I've always said, if you make a dog cross enough, it'll eventually, you kick a dog enough, you'll make him cross, you'll eventually bite somebody. That somebody might be starting with you. So the radical leftists, I don't know how you save those people. Very few, some of them are so far gone into the loyalist side of things that it, like you can't bargain or reason with a loyalist, right? Even if they're, and plus they're crazy. They've gone crazy. If you're a progressive, you're pretty much insane. You know what I mean? Progressivism, number one, is nor left nor right. It's like if you're a right wing person, you have a company and you keep find enough to keep your company operating in the black, not the red, and then you give out bonuses to everybody. That's progressivism. You know what I mean? That's a form of it. If you're left wing and you're like you own the same company and you do the same thing, well, it's like, okay, well, I'll give you profit sharing, I'll give you bonuses or whatever. When I do good, you'll do good. That's progressivism. That's not what we have running our countries. We have what does the stakeholder investor class want? What does Israel want? You know what I mean? That's what we got, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere, right? So it's in Russia. China is probably the only one you can't do that because the Jews can't ethnically infiltrate China. You know what I mean? They just can't do it. They can do it in Russia. They could do it in the United States. They've done it, a little bit in Canada, but really the United States is the king dog for that. Jewish supremacy and stuff like that. And again, there's no other way to see it. Like, I wish I was wrong, but again, when these people tell you how much they want to destroy you every single day, like it's kind of hard not to take them serious. You know what I mean? And again, I hate sitting there Jew bashing all day. I hate Trump bashing Trump all day. Trump was supposed to be the good guy. He was supposed to be the guy that wasn't going to start any new wars. He was supposed to, what I was hoping for, I know it was wishful thinking, and I kind of knew, like I told you right after he won, like what 2 days after he won, congratulations down there, you got what you wanted, but he's going to betray you by the end of the month, and like it wasn't even a month later, he started the betrayal of this crazy tariff war on everybody to wreck the world economy. Why? Because the bankers want to ruin their world economy so they can start off with the go to the cashless society and all that. They've been talking about. They tried it in 2008. That's why not a single banker goes to jail, right? Because like it's all on purpose. These economic collapses are on purpose. They create these bubbles, housing bubbles, automotive bubble, you name all these bubbles. Immigration bubble, temporary foreign worker bubbles, student bubble. Again, it's all these people taking kickbacks, right? Like there's going to have to be a purge of the system. I get it, and it's going to hurt no matter which way we go. Why? Because when everything in society, from your schools, your mainstream media, it just operates, and your military, everything, your government operates on lies. You know what I mean? Like it's just going to have the effect, right? When half the people that are telling you take this vaccine because it's safe and effective are on the Epstein file list, including Trump. you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? But oh no, that's a conspiracy theory, and you're just an anti-vaxxer, and then it's like, yeah, but I was right. But that's the big one. Like again, but it comes back to what Hemingway said. I think it was Hemingway. It's easier to fool people than convince them that they've been fooled. And now people are starting to come out of that ether. And once they go red pilled, that's it. There's no going back. Even if they shut off the internet, it doesn't matter at this point. Everybody knows. Everybody's going to know. It's just, can they accept it? Can they not? People have to go insane to double down not to accept it. So at that point, when does the military go, well, I'm not going to go die for Israel just because Trump wants to sacrifice a bunch of people to say, oh, look, they killed our people. Let's rally around the flag. Yes, there'll be the idiots that do that. Whatever. That was, that generation isn't around anymore. You know what I mean? Like, that was mainly the boomer generation and us Gen Xers that would, rally around the flag on stuff like that. I mean, when 9/11 happened, yeah, people went and signed up to the military the next day. All these Gen X guys, all us 20-year-olds, like I went, to sign up for the military back in the 1980s, right out of school. They said I was too stupid, so I went and got my grade 10. I had to go back and get my grade 10 and grade 11 and all that. I got all that, and they said, yeah, no. We're not hiring you guys right now. It's like, you could put in your application, but there's going to be very few people getting in right now. We're on budget cuts, whatever, blah blah blah. And then 9/11 happened, and it was like, well, I'm not going to sign up during a war. you know what I mean? It didn't make sense. Like I pondered it, because whatever. But then you started hearing the stories. You started hearing the stories and everything like that. And even during 9/11, like we went into Afghanistan in 2002. Canada went in 2002, right? And it was like signing up was still something that most young guys did consider. They said, well, if they really, really need us, like I'm there. You know what I mean? But even at that, they were very selective in the Canadian military. Like even though there was a war going on, war on terror, they were selective. They're like, well, we'll call you if we need you. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And then, by the time you get to 2008, you realize the war, you start getting veterans coming back. They're like, no, I'm in Afghanistan. Like, basically, you watch the 6 o'clock news, I'm building schools and, taking care of women and children, democracy. But when I'm there, like when the cameras are not on me, I'm watching opium fields, for Halliburton and the Rothschild banking and all that. So, you know what I mean? So once I learned that, it was okay. Okay, and it was I remember it was a U.S. veteran, and he said it clear. He goes, all these people that I support the vets and thank you for your services. Don't do that. He goes, if we want, he says, these vets, sure, a lot of them got duped or whatever, but you're supporting false wars. And this guy took a lot of shit for this. Like, oh, you're dishonoring the service, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, but it's an illegal war. We're going and following bad orders, right? Right now, the left is okay with, doing that because it's against Trump. Like, the left is very disingenuous. Where were they under the Obama years? You know what I mean? Yeah, sure, everybody was against George Bush, but then when Obama came in, you were okay with it? You know what I mean? Biden came in, you were okay with it? No. At least most of the people on the right, like the Ron Paul revolution, it was basically the Ron Paul revolution of libertarianism back in 2008. A lot of that was based upon the George Bush war on terror wars. George Bush Jr., George Bush Sr., and these wars on terror, right? And people saw it for the farce that it was, because a lot of these guys were veterans themselves, and they became libertarians thinking libertarianism was going to be the solution. It wasn't. Libertarianism is crazy as communism. It's just the other side of the coin. Yeah, we'll just do us over here being libertarians, individuals, and you can do your communism over there. No, communism will never leave the libertarian alone. As soon as they figure that out, they become nationalists, right? So there is a libertarian to nationalist pipeline, but there's there's a lot of things in society that is breaking down. The Martin Luther King and I Have a Dream is starting to, okay, it's cracking, right? Well, it's cracked. It's cracked. People are saying, okay, maybe, the birds of a feather is more of a thing than it isn't. This idea that we're just all the same, whatever. Obviously all the Marxism and stuff like that, and the critical theories and all that, the people are looking at that stuff and saying, okay, there's something wrong here. The sane people anyway. So people will still parrot whatever the TV says for the most part, but less and less are believing it. And again, the one thing that's good about telling the truth, even if the truth is ugly, and it is ugly, it's always ugly. One of the good things about it is that no matter what, when you tell the truth, you sleep easy at night. And you never have to remember lies, right? You never have to manipulate. You don't have to use propaganda. You just have to tell the truth. And the thing is that I get this all the time, on my last channel, I got it all the time. People would watch this video for the first time and they would be just like, this guy's a racist, he's a bigot, he's hateful, he's a coward, he's against our military, he's a fucking this and fucking that, blah, 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 whatever. And then something I'll say in about roughly this timeline, you'll see exactly this happen to this detail, right? Over and over and over and over again. I've done thousands of predictions that come true. I'm probably accurate up to 85% of the time. Why? That's the question, why? When I said there would be an East Ukraine, West Ukraine, people like a year in advance, they didn't believe me. The Me Too thing, the reason why I was able to say, look, they're going to get rid of all the CEOs using the Me Too thing, and suddenly you'll just see all the generals are all female, like up here in Canada. Not all of them, but the top general has everything, because they told us what they were going to do. All these wars are for Israel and bankers. No one goes to jail. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing over and over again. And at some point, you can only just kind of dismiss it as conspiracy until you start living it, right? And the people, like Gerald Celente says, nobody does anything until it hits them in the pocket. Well, getting your gasoline jump up $1 in like 3 weeks is something that's going to get. Wait till it goes up $10, $20 a gallon in the States, and it'll be like $40 a liter up here in Canada. It's going to where does the economy completely get destroyed? At $8 a gallon? I don't know. But I can guarantee you at $12 a gallon, it's Mad Max out there. Like I said, you got everybody talking about $110, $150 gold, oil. I'm like, no, $1,500 to $2,000 a barrel oil. That's what we're. Why? Because every time you blow up one of these pipelines, you blow up one of these refineries, you blow up all that. Again, yes, sure, the global elites make money off this. This is why they're heading to their bunkers, where it's going to be their tombs, right? Look, predicting things like I said, when they stabbed the shit out of Muammar Gaddafi butt naked in the street, stabbing him up the ass. Literally, they stabbed him in the ass. That's what they did to kill him. Then they danced on his body. That is the future of the world elites. I'm not making any threats. I'm saying you reap what you sow. You piss off every single fucking citizen on the planet, bar none, and demoralize and demoralize and demoralize. Like it's not going to work in your favor. People are going to figure it out. It's the, again, it's hubris. These people think they're completely untouchable. Oh, well, my security force will keep the peasants at bay. Only if you pay them enough. And if you destroy the world enough, you're not, like, there's no, like, the type of people that protect Trump, security detail. Like, you're going to get a guy just go, bang. You know what I mean? With these world elites. You're going to just see, like, like basically security details. Bang, I'll take one for the team. It's going to happen. It might not be Trump, but it could be people around him. You know what I mean? A lot of these world leaders are probably going to get taken out by drones. It's probably going to be their own side. Like, yes, they'll blame it on Iran, but it's like, okay, the easiest way for the United States to de-escalate is to kill the Trump administration, right? So the CIA guys, the Pentagon guys are posted there. Okay, well, 3 generals get together. Okay, we're going to do a coup. How are we going to do it? Okay, well, we'll drone strike. We'll fly drones into Air Force One or something. I don't know. We'll blame it on the Iranians, and then we'll look for a peace deal. Because they got to find a way. They got to find a way. Because it's again, these people are very corrupt, right? They will kill everybody around them before they kill themselves, right? So just don't be standing by famous people. like I would tell you, don't stand by anybody famous. Don't stand by anybody who's Jewish. Stay away from Muslims. Stay away from blacks. Even if you're black, stay away from other blacks. You're gonna die. Stay away from the progressive left. Don't go to these protests to challenge Antifa. Let them, let those people burn themselves out. Don't get killed in the crossfire stupidly, because it's pointless. Be prepared. Look, the time to talk is running out. The internet is still up. It's not going to be up for probably by the end of the year. That's going to be a good thing and a bad thing. The bad thing is we won't know what the world elites are up to. But the good thing is it means the system will be slowing down, and they might not be fucking with us as much, as it collapses, right? But we'll see. We'll see. We got a long way to go. Every government in the world has pretty much failed its people by none, right? Yeah. And again, we don't know how crazy, I don't know what they're going to use or when. Is it going to be this week, next week, the week after, 6 months from now? When is the United States going to drop nukes on Iran? Again, maybe that's why Iran is not taking out the aircraft carriers. It's like, no, they want us to do that. So they killed 5,000 people, we've got to nuke them. Right? So I think it's again, we don't know what the Iranian intelligence is actually up to, right? I mean, they got that Iranian AI guy out there. You see him they're like this all the time. Yeah, that guy is AI. He's not real. But he sits there and every night they've sunk they basically every night of this war so far they've sunk the U.S. U.S. drilled forward about 24 times now. So it's just bullshit propaganda, right? But no. Because I'm like, well, they clearly have the capability. I know there's a lot of Americans don't believe at all that the Iranians have the capability to take out an Ollie Burke or take a... Guys, anti-shipping missiles are coming in fast. If you have the Baramos anti-shipping missiles, they're coming in at Mach 2. Across the Strait of Hormuz at Mach 2, they'll probably hit a ship just dead reckoning. You know what I mean? Okay, aim 10 lengths of 10 fathoms in front of the ship. By the time the missile gets there, it hits the ship right in the middle. I know people don't believe it, but yeah, the Iranians can hit they range the ships. They clearly show that they range the ships, anywhere like there's not a single aircraft carrier America has that can operate efficiently in that area. And if the Gerald Ford can't, nothing can. So the British aircraft carrier is not going to be able to do it. The French aircraft carrier. That's why there's like Macron is keeping they're staying over the Mediterranean, right? The Lincoln's not going to be able to do it. The George Bush is not going to be able to do it. The Tripoli is definitely not going to be able to do it. Neither is the Iwo Jima or the other one. I can't remember the name of the other ship. But I think, like, if they kill the guy's boots on the ground, okay, you won't be able to get a rally around the flag on that. And it achieves the same thing. They get to kill thousands of Americans, right? And which helps them out. It makes the American public go into like complete protest mode against Trump and Israel and all that. So it works in their favor, right? Because look, their gain, the longer this war goes on, yes, it'll be hard on Iran, but they're already adapting to it. But more importantly, the more they can destroy. Again, if they can destroy every fucking tanker and every AWAC and all that ground air defense, like how much air defense is left in the Middle East? I'm sure there's still lots, but like the Al Adid is, what's the big base? It's just like they've been hitting that, and the amount of American equipment that's there, it's just like the central, it's the biggest base, is it Al Assad or Al Adid air base in Iraq there. Anyway, they've been hitting that thing almost every night, right? And that's just full of warehouses full of U.S. shit. You know what I mean? Like, again, you destroy that, like you're talking probably $500 billion worth of weaponry and machinery and God knows what, right? That is how they're going to win the war. Just, death by a million cuts, right? Because even if you don't rack up the big body count, it's just their ability to fight. And then you save the warships for the last. But I'm thinking once you sink the warship, that's what they're waiting. That's what Trump is waiting for. It's like, well, they just sink a warship already because then we could use that, around, oh my God, here's, and again, they'll show you all they do this all the time. Here's, you remember Jessica Lynch? The Jessica Lynch movie? And she even came out and said, no, it didn't happen like that at all. She goes, no, I got knocked on my ass right away. And that 18-year-old guy, that kid, the last man standing, saved her life while she was wounded in the back of the Humvee. And then, she got basically rescued in the hospital, by doctors that were helping her willingly. So no. They were the staff with the Iraqis were really nice with me. And it's like but they made her into like GI Jane. She was and it wasn't her at all. Like she's like no. She goes, if it wasn't. She goes, I was helpless. It's like, yeah, they'll put the GI Jane that got killed on the Tripoli. Oh my God, and she was so brave, and she went down guns blazing. They're gonna do that, and here's her 5 kids at home, bawling because they lost their mom against the stupid war. Oh, we got to go kill all those Iranians now. Well, we got a suggestion. The Iranians aren't going to surrender, so let's just put do the B-52 with B-61 nukes on it. Here we go. It doesn't matter. Like number one, you can't get B-52s over Iran, and the B-2s. They can get close to Iran, but you're still at a standoff distance. Like there's areas they can go hit and then get out of there. But with these AWACS that have been taken out, and then reportedly, again, taken with a grain of salt, the Israelis lost their primary AWAC, right? Which means their Air Force is now going to be flying on only satellites. Like that's the only thing. Like they're going to have to coordinate the strikes with satellites, right? Because they don't have the AWACS watching their back. So you fly in this way, when you're coming out, you get shot in the ass. And I think that's what is confirmation. When you start to see fighter jets getting shot down in large numbers, that's because the AWACS and the electronic warfare isn't there to save them. Meaning the F-15 pilots, the F-16 pilots, F-18 pilots, and the Super Hornet pilots and the F-35 pilots are going to have to start to fly with their radars on. The second they turn those on, they're dead. The like again, it's easy to shoot down an F-35 once it's within the range, because you can shoot it down by thermals. You know what I mean. Like they lock onto the thermal. Like just the airframe itself is probably 150 degrees flying through the air. You know what I mean? Maybe 200 degrees because it's a desert, right? You'll see that on the thermal. The blowhole on the back is 1600 degrees. Pick a jet, any jet, right? Maybe an airliner, it's 1200 degrees. you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the heat-seeking missiles will get you. Stingers will get you. You know what I mean? Like, so, like this whole, like we're finding out that the F-35 is it's a good airplane. It's just it's not as good as advertised. It's nowhere near as good as advertised. Because it can't operate on its own. It has to have all this support. It has to have the AWACS. It has to have the satellites. Again, and if you're just solely relying on satellites, you can't operate with impunity, because satellites, they can be jammed. They can be, it's the drones, the AWACS are needed, because without the AWACS, okay, the drones are gonna, yes, they can run on satellite, but there's still that blind envelope transferring from satellite to satellite to satellite, where the Iranians have proven that when the next satellite's out of range and the drone goes to get to the next satellite thing, link, they can commandeer the drone, right? They've done this a couple of times already, which doesn't make U.S. drones obsolete, but they're going to steal a lot of U.S. tech doing this, right? You need that constant link between the electronic warfare aircraft and these drones to keep an eagle eye view, because without that eagle eye view, you don't know what's on the other side of the mountaintop, right? You can fire stuff on GPS coordinates from satellite links, but it's not real time, right? And that's going to degrade the U.S. ability for accuracy and the Israeli ability for accuracy. So, if I'm Iran, tankers and AWACS and early warning radars are my top priority, and it seems that's what they've been targeting. And then after that, it's logistics centers. Take out the military brass there. Once you take out the political class, there's no more negotiation that can be done, right? So Trump doesn't know who's in charge in Iran. He doesn't. The ambassador comes out and look, Professor Morandi, love him, hate him. I think this guy is obviously an Iranian asset. He's not just some guy championing Iran. He's not. He's higher on the ranks than that. He is former military. Yes, he fought in the Iraq-Iran war, which was back to. So he is an intelligence guy. I don't know if he's ever claimed to be an intelligence guy, but he's clearly Iranian intelligence, because they wouldn't be letting him speak otherwise, right? And obviously he doesn't. He's there to basically discourage, Americans from supporting the war, right? That's his goal. Doesn't mean you don't listen to him or whatever. The best guy Iranian to listen to is the ambassador. I can't think of the guy's name. I can't say the guy with the beard because they all have beards. It's the Iranian with the gray hair and the dark eyebrows and the beard. Yeah. That's pretty much all of them. But what I'm getting at though is that no, he's like, no, this is what the government of Iran is saying is acceptable and not acceptable. Here's our terms. No, we're not coming to the negotiation table. There's nothing to talk about. Get the fuck out of our region. Like it's not get out of our country, it's get out of the region, right? And the United States has got to find a way out of that. But Netanyahu is like, no, you're going to kill all your Goy soldiers for us. And Trump's like, okay, I have to because Zionist evangelical doomer, right? So they got to find a way to sacrifice Americans because, like, again, terrorist attacks at home in a false flag is just going to turn on the American administration. You're going to get, rebel uprisings from American militia groups or something like that, where they're just going to say, okay, well, we got to wipe out DC. We got to wipe them all out. That's what's coming. So yes, you're going to see a military coup, or what's probably happening if we look at the Gerald Ford, okay, the laundry room fire on the Gerald Ford, I think, was probably, again, no way to prove this, but considering the damage that they're talking about, it was probably most likely not sabotage. It was probably a drone hit, meaning they took damage. They can't tell you this because that is such a demoralizing, that would freak out the U.S. military because, like, no, nothing can touch Hercules. Nothing can touch the U.S. Gerald Ford. There is no Achilles heel. Yes, there is. And again, you're going to get one of these sailors once they're off the ship and, in rotation and back home, because half these guys have been out there for a year and a half on that ship, like they've done almost 2.5 tours on this fucking ship, right? And they're not allowed to come home. They're very demoralized. So I would say, like, for example, the backed up toilets, that's probably the early signs of your military coup. The backed up toilets on the Gerald Ford, okay? It's probably, unless, by the odds of it being a maintenance issue, because it looks like these toilets are backed up twice. So there's somebody, it's clearly disgruntled or Iranian sympathizers in the U.S. military. This is the problem with multiculturalism, is loyalty in your military. Like when Mark Hardy talks about a foreigner military, yeah, that's a bad idea. Yeah, let's get all the Chinese and Indians in the military. And the funny part is that they'll probably start fighting with each other. You know what I mean? But anyway, I digress. No, you need your white old stock Canadians, your white old stock Americans in your military, or you're going to have a coup, right? But you might get a coup from that anyway, right? Because it's, unless you can get Zionist evangelicals completely on the warships and in the airplanes, like 100%, you will not get the loyalty in your military, especially on a fake war. It's not a fake war in the sense that people are dying. People are dying. It's a real war, but it's like the pretenses are false, right? It's basically these people believe in the end times prophecy stuff. They've already said the quiet part out loud. You can dismiss it if you would like, but sometimes when people tell you who they are, you should just believe them. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's that. So we'll see, but my hunch too is, like, for example, up here in Canada with the Canadian mobilization light going on, most of it's in the Arctic. But if you look at what's happening across the Arctic, with Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Kingdom of Denmark, I guess Norway's in there too, Iceland. Iceland really caught me off guard. But yeah, they're all the Nordic 7, the Nordic 5 and the Nordic 7 are sitting there basically, in a nutshell, saying, yeah, we're ready for the invasion of Greenland. So we're ready to blow the runways if the Americans try to do that. They again, bringing blood supplies for wounded. So what I'm thinking, and then again, you look at all the militarization that's going on here in Canada, a lot of it up in the Arctic, but you're seeing drills all over the country. These, and again, some of these drills are regular scheduled, whatever, but you're just seeing an uptick in it, right? And domestically. And what's that about? Well, what I think is happening is there's probably U.S. generals that are warning our Canadian generals, saying, look, there is a plan to invade you guys. Get ready. You know what I mean? So if we see like a within a year to 2 years, like a mass buildup of air defense in Canada, which again, Carney's already, again, it takes a while. Like, we have like one major air defense, what do you call it? Anyway, you can fire a battery of 72 air-to-ground missiles. So we got those. We have the 30 old ADATs. They've been mothballed. I don't know if they're being pulled out of mothball. But if you see the old ADAT systems coming out of mothball, and then you start to see our old Lav 3s get refurbished with ADAT systems and stuff like that, that tells us we're getting ready for a U.S. Air bombardment. That's what that's an indication, because our air defense has primarily been fighter jets and warships for since the Cold War, right? With very light air defense. Like the ADATs were mainly sent to Europe as during the Cold War, right? So we worked with the Germans. The Germans had the Gepards, with the basically anti-aircraft flak guns, the 35s, with the Weasel as communications, and then we had the ADATS as the anti-tank, anti-aircraft defense system, right? So we could see upticks in that. I'm watching. I haven't seen anything yet, but we do know that when we get the over-the-horizon radar systems from NORAD, we're also going to be getting 3 layers: long range, medium range, and short range air defense. Now, I know other air defense that we're getting is the B-70 Saab MADPAD launchers, which kill out to about 8,000 meters, 8,000 kilometers, 8,000 meters, which is about 5 miles. How many of those we're going to get, I don't know. I think we'd need at least 2,600 of those. MADPAD launchers, about 26,000 of those. And then ADATs, probably anywhere from 260 to say 520 of those, which we could do with our labs and just convert them to air defense, for the short range and just have them everywhere. And then we need like Taurus missile system, that kind of stuff. The other missile system, problem is it's a Raytheon product. Even though we're getting it in junction with Norway. Look, I think we're going to start to see Swedish systems and British systems become the new procurement for air defense, because the liability, for example, for Denmark is that they basically have F-35s, and these things are mainly sitting on the ground waiting for maintenance. This is why the Saab Gripen is going to basically control the northern hemisphere, because it's the only, the Saab Gripen, the Iran war, the Saab Gripen would be a perfect airplane to have for that war, because the turnaround time to keep this thing flying is a lot better. It's low maintenance like the A-10. You know what I mean? The A-10 is probably going to be a good airplane if you can get rid of the air defense. Problem is the air defense is integrated into the mountain. So A-10s are not going to be flying with impunity up and down the strait the way people think they are. Even though they're there, there's going to be limitations once the Iranians, figure out where the Americans are attempting to land. Again, I still don't think there's going to be a ground invasion. What I'm thinking it is the Tripoli is what they're doing is they're going to send guys in to liberate the, the citizenry that's stuck in the Middle East, and the embassies. So they're an evacuation force is what I'm thinking. So in other words, the United States has lost the war. Again, they've already lost the war. It's just, again, you don't measure war in who destroyed more. It's who can endure the losses more. And the United States can't endure the losses. Guys, there's more than fucking 13 people killed in this ordeal. We're talking probably thousands killed. You know what I mean? Like, just because soldiers are sworn to secrecy doesn't mean some of them aren't going to tell you the truth. At some point, they're just going to say no. And again, watch for Trump, non-Zionist Trump administration people jumping ship. Those are the people that are starting to say the quiet part out loud, saying no, that we're completely infiltrated by Israel. And it's global. It's a global problem, right? This is why you can't have dual citizens in your government. Period. This is why every country outside the West doesn't allow that. Like in Canada, we got the same problem. We got all these people from India in our government, and China in our government advocating for India and China. For their people. It's like no, the only thing they can call you is racist bigot if you don't want that, right? But ask the Chinese if they'll let foreigners in their government. You know what I mean? Ask Israel if they'll let foreigners in their government. No, they don't do that. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. So we'll see what chaos comes tomorrow. Not looking good. Keep preparing. Buy food. Bread, bullets, and bandages. I know there's an ammo shortage going on right now. There's going to be an everything shortage. Look, 2020, you're going to look back at that as the good times. Yeah. It's just the worse you can imagine it, the more accurate it's going to be. So just don't get killed in the crossfire. Anyway, there you go.